No, like, I say that because when I tried to put on Roblox yesterday, the entire website was down. That's why I'm questioning it, because the website was down yesterday. I don't know if they fixed it. They could have, and I probably didn't notice. That's probably why. But check it up here. Is the website on today? Okay, it's online today. That's good. Okay, that's good. The website exists today. Alright, might check it out later. When we have more time. Just make sure I check chat. My phone is right next to me. It is a bit almost dead, so I have it charging in the meantime. So, it's how we're going to be able to do it. So, I can only really read chat through my phone. Not through the PC side, but it's alright. Alright. Let me just make sure I actually share the stream, because I don't know what I'm doing. I won't copy a link. I'll just create a post about the stream. I have to change my thumbnails one day. Hey Don, what's going on? Alright, I have my pen app here. Okay. Where's the JTWC? I need this one, too. I gotta pop this one over. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff to discuss. I have to discuss this one, these 3 storms, and I have to discuss these 2 things, and these 2 things. So there's a lot of stuff to discuss. All this up here as well, I also have to discuss. So, yeah. And I'll talk about the channel, too, because I have my sensor bar back here now for my Wii U. So I can actually play old Wii games now. The nunchuck is still kind of broken, so I don't know if that's going to work, but I could possibly play Mario Kart Wii now on stream if you guys want, in like a future stream or something. Alright, so let's get into it. A lot of stuff has passed. I forgot what happened here. I do remember a major hurricane came through this part of Mexico, like not too long ago. Like, just do like a giant recap of what happened, like the past few weeks. Ophelia came in through North Carolina, through here. Philippe came up through here. Well, not through there. Not through there. Let's redraw that. Philippe came through here. Let me draw the line. Use black instead. Philippe came through here, dived down, and then came up here, I think in late September. Sean was down here. And this is Tammy, which has come through the northern Leeward Islands. And it's starting to skirt past, and it should begin turning away. I should have probably made an update yesterday, because this is when it was right over the islands, moving through. So, right now, that was the situation in the Atlantic. In the Eastern Pacific, we had one major hurricane that came through and moved out to sea, and then bent back into this part of Mexico, became a Cat 4. Norma recently came up this way. It was a Cat 4 down here, but weakened down and made like a Cat 1 hurricane landfall in the western part of this part of the Baja California area. I think Cabo San Lucas is right here. I don't know the exact term of this coastline, though. Someone should help me with that. Welcome back. And now Norma is here, and it's going to move into Mexico and get absorbed into storm systems that are up here. So it's going to get absorbed into the moisture field of the mid-latitude storm that's up here. And then this storm down, this depression 18E should develop down here. I have to check its track on Tropical Tidbits. Could check it here. Yeah, it's supposed to turn into a storm and then move north and just meander in this area. It's not supposed to do too much. Although it being slow here will bring probably a good amount of rain to this area. Let's just go back. I need to get rid of that. There we go. So we'll see how this one goes. It doesn't seem to be doing too much, but it's another name, so keep an eye on it. Norma isn't supposed to last too long, like I said. This was its wind field history. It was strongest in this area right here, and then it slowly weakened down due to shear and colder waters and moved north. That's what happened. And now it's sitting here, about to move into Mexico and dissipate. If I go to Kiki Messages. So heavy rains will continue back Sinaloa up here. I believe there are mountains here. So the heavy rain that is from Norma that's still there is going to produce heavy rain in this area. So they mentioned flash flooding and urban flooding here. And mudslides from the mountains, which I just outlined here. You'll still get tropical storm force winds. And with the heavy rain, that could topple over some trees. Although it's weaker than where it was when it was making landfall here. So tropical storm force winds, at least as long as the storm stays like compact, it should continue moving into Sinaloa, Mexico, before the storm ultimately dissipates and the moisture moves up into Texas. Which I can do. I could probably show on Tropical Tidbits actually, if I get rid of this. Doing this as fast as I can. GFS model. So this will be normal as it is right now. Well, 6 hours in the future. Drag that out. It does move into Mexico. It disintegrates a bit. Just disintegrate in the mountains area. Right here. Some of that moisture does get kicked up into the southern plains. This is Tammy over here. We'll look at that in a bit. Some of that moisture gets kicked into the southern plains. It helps with that next storm that forms up within the next 4 days. We have snow in the mountains back here. The northern Rockies and into the Great Basin. Probably have some severe weather, if I drew it. I just wish the pen app was better, I'm gonna be honest. Probably have some severe weather in this area, too. In the front section of it, as you're getting return flow off the Gulf, getting in some warm, moist air to feed the storm systems that form up in this area. If I look at dew point, I think I can show that better. It should be down here somewhere. We won't be talking about too much about United States weather though. Yeah, so you have a strong moisture flow from the Gulf and this return flow around this high pressure system. So you have a high pressure system like right here. And then the winds around it are pushing air offshore here. And then it's getting a nice return flow into the Western Gulf. While you have the cold front boundary sitting somewhere in here. So you have severe thunderstorms in this area. No, not that small. Come on. I wish I could change this. There we go. You have severe thunderstorms in this area. And then back there, if I get the red out. Back there, you'll probably get snow in this area. So if I translate that back to the other map, it should look pretty similar. Yeah, somewhat. There's a little bit less moisture there. But that's just like a general concept of that. Go to the Eastern Pacific for this other system. It is developing down there. It's a bit disorganized. There is a large feeder band of this monsoon moisture coming this way. And there is a little bit of rotation up here. But it's not concise as what it would have been for Norma. Oh, that's another thing to mention. This guy. The GFS wants to spin up into a hurricane before it hits Nicaragua. That's in 36 hours. We have to see how that goes, if it's moving that slowly. It has favorable conditions, it just doesn't have that much time. That storm gets into Central America, then mixes over, and that's what really gets this disturbance in the East Pacific to get its act together and actually start doing stuff. But it doesn't develop into too much strength-wise. It just brings a lot of rain to southern Mexico and western Central America as it goes up north, and then possibly gets absorbed into that storm system up there. And not too much happens after that in Eastern Pacific. So you're going to have prolonged rain next to Central America, but I don't expect an organized system. I'm only here because of a storm, Babette, to be honest. I'm glad it didn't affect me. Babette? Is that a storm? I probably missed a lot. I know Bolivian in the Western Pacific was a thing. I believe like a week or two ago. I think it was a week ago. I think it was a week ago. Tammy just passed the islands here, and it was a miss for most of them, except for I think Guadalupe in the northern part. I think they got the eye wall directly yesterday. That was the worst case scenario for them. Dang, this is zoomed out. Hold on. Alright, this is better. Okay. Going back to that NHC paper, go back to the home menu. Tammy's there, 80-mile-per-hour hurricane, like I mentioned, and we have this area of interest in the southwestern Caribbean. So let's zoom in on that if we can. Get a reading on that. So there's a little bit of organization. The thunderstorms are there, and you have low pressure. It does say environmental conditions are favorable, so there's low wind shear. The waters are very warm down there, and there's plenty of humidity. The only real issue is land interaction, since it says it's going to move into Nicaragua within the next 36 hours. So it's Sunday now, so it will have today and tomorrow to get ready, and a little bit of Tuesday before it hits land. And then heavy rain will be there regardless of whether it develops or not. And we have to see where Tammy goes. So just pull up the key messages on Tammy. So heavy rains in Leeward Islands due to it still being relatively close by. If we look at the actual cone, it is supposed to turn a little bit from where it is now. Turn out that way. I could put up the track. That way I don't have to draw it. You have the track where it bends to the right a little bit due to an approaching trough up here. If I can draw it. Approaching trough up here. But by the time the storm gets to about here, the trough that was there is starting to miss it, and it's over here. And then you have a ridge that builds back in, forcing the storm to go that way. So that will bring Tammy closer to Bermuda, which is right here. So if it bends to the east-west and is able to come more westward and get closer to Bermuda, we'll try and look out for some impacts for that. Once it gets past Bermuda, though, it should turn out to sea. We have to see. The ridge shouldn't stay up that long due to what time of the year it is, since it's October. Hey, Cap, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. The ridge shouldn't stay in place for too long up there. If I look at the model. Well, we'll switch to the North Atlantic for this one, since it'll be easier to see. Okay. So, like I said, Tammy moves this way, but the trough is already all the way over here. So, Tammy can't continue to move that way, as you have that high pressure that builds up top of it. Like right here. Like, the storm can't move through this. It's a large area of high pressure, so it has to move westward because of that. Which it does. And then there's a split in high pressure ridge right here towards day 5, and that's what allows it to get kicked out. So that will bring it close to Bermuda, but the high breaks enough fast enough so it can't get farther west. In Splatoon 2 currently, also I think they patched the pillar glitch at the middle area on Manta Maria. Like, you mean where you could get inside the mast and they couldn't kill you without using a special? Is that the place that you're mentioning? I think that is because I think you showed it to me once. On a stream, I think a few months ago. That's still Tammy, yeah. So Tammy pretty much weakens down and then gets pulled out. It's still meandering up there, but it shouldn't really be an issue by that point. If we go back here, this depression down here has time to develop as it gets this thunderstorm center and then gets down to hurricane status pretty quickly before it moves into Nicaragua. I think this is the place that Ada hit, I think 3 years ago. I remember it. I remember it a lot. I remember it because I remember Ada coming down at a path like this. Its disturbance was out here, if I can remember. Its disturbance was out here. It got here, developed around here, bended south, did this. Well, something like that. Hold on. It went this way, came up, and then slowly dragged itself down. And that's basically the track it did. I think that's Iota actually. It just is something like this where it bended down, and then it came in like that. This would be approaching for the south though, so the wind would be pushing on shore for longer. I think I can check the wind shear map for that. 280 millibar shear. Yeah. Yeah, so where this depression is, it has outflow in all directions, so it should be able to breathe pretty easily. The only issue is that land is literally right here, so it can't go gangbusters. If it was out here, it would have a lot more time to actually be able to get like major status. But since it's right next to land, it has limited time to really ramp up. Kind of the same issue that Harold had here. It had a good environment, but it only really needed. But since land was right there, it couldn't do what it possibly could have. But if it had like one more day, it could have did it. So we'll check the Euro as well. ECM, not the fast version. This one. This one only goes out 90 hours for the latest run, but I can use the old run, I think. Well, I hope I can use the old run. Yeah, 0C, you get the 240. There we go. And precipitation. Tammy's still there. Euro shows that little system down there. It doesn't get organized, though. It doesn't organize before it hits land. It still brings a heavy rain. And that system in the East Pacific is a little bit more organized, but it's still stalling. The Euro also shows that Tammy still makes this turn, and it brings it closer to Bermuda that way. It's just a bit weaker than I think on the GFS. But that one brings it closer to Bermuda, and then it takes it westward as this high doesn't break down. It's a little bit far out. And just go out, take it out to only 7 days only. But I'll check the upper level pattern to see what that looks like. Yeah, so you have a stronger ridge over the northeastern United States. But I want the actual like height thing. Alright, there we go. So there's still a break in the ridge there. Yeah, there's still a break in the ridge. But the ridge keeps Tammy moving far enough west and south that it misses any trough that tries to pick it up from the north. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. But then it disintegrates. So I'll see how that goes. Still has that opening, so we have to see whether it takes the opening or not once it gets near Bermuda. But that will be Tammy for now. And now, we really have to see when it makes that turn before we can actually start getting estimates on impacts to Bermuda. If we were to look at it from 10 meter wind perspective, by this time it has a pretty large wind field. Not the strongest, not very strong winds, but it has a large wind field compared to what it has now. Because right now it's a small storm, but once it gets up to where Bermuda is, it has a larger wind field and begins to spread out. So we'll see how that one goes, and we'll check the Canadian for the same thing. Canadian keeps it stronger. Yeah, Canadian keeps a stronger one, but disintegrates it as it comes towards Bermuda and just makes it dissipate from there. I'll check MSLP as well. Yeah, so storm is there and then moves westward and starts disintegrating. There are some waves that come up behind it, tropical waves, that possibly could get in here later on. We have to watch that. Anything that does get into the Caribbean, if it has good conditions, could do a lot based on how warm the water is down there. That Canadian model also has that system in the East Pacific trying to do something in Central America. So we'll have to watch that. Alright, switching gears to the Westpac. Well, not the Westpac, the other hemisphere. What's up, favorite meteorologist? Must be preparing for the challenge video I'm making. What's the challenge video that you're making? Like, what's the challenge? If you know off the top of your head. So, in the Western Pacific, not the Western Pacific, oh my god. In the Southwest Pacific, we have Lola. We have in the Bay of Bengal 92B. Oh, I think all these are highlighted anyway. But we have Tej, which is a major tropical cyclone, it's a major hurricane equivalent, moving towards the southern Arabian Peninsula. We have Lola in the Southwest Pacific that's going to move through the South Pacific Islands. And we have this system in the Bay of Bengal, which is a high chance of development. That's probably going to move north into India. Or the West Bay of Bengal. I have to check the warning graphics. If I can. Tropical Depression E. Okay. I think the graphic would help. Oh no, that's not the right one. It's not the right one. It's the Bay of Bengal system. This isn't Tej. Tej isn't on here. This is Tej. This is the one I need. Yeah. So, Splatoon challenges today. Yeah, but like, what challenge? What's your specific goal in Splatoon that you're trying to do? Like, are you guys trying to do like a weapon challenge where you can only use a certain weapon? Like, what's the challenge? I know you're good playing Splatoon. I just want to know what type of challenge. So, Tej is here. It's weakening off its peak. Down here. 100 knots roughly translates to a major hurricane. I think. I don't know the actual conversions on it. I can get it for you. Let me actually just change my screen so I can actually go get the measurements. So give me a little bit of time. I need to get that knot conversion calculator. But I don't want to show like the school thing I have. Knot conversion to NPH. Yeah, there we go. Alright. Screen display. Okay. So, we're seeing... Where is it? Okay. It's at 100 knots right now. So, do the conversions. 0. Do the conversions. That is a major hurricane. So, it's weakening off its major hurricane status slowly as it's moving towards... I think this is Yemen. This is Oman. This is Yemen. This is moving into Yemen. So, it weakens down to a Category 2, and then a higher end Category 2, right before landfall in this part of Yemen, southeastern Yemen, and then makes landfall, and then begins disintegrating quickly as it moves over the desert. So, it's going to bring a lot of impacts. I do want to know if they have like a Storm Surge graphic for this. I'm not sure if they do, though. That's my main issue. Reasoning. There's a lot of reading here. 50 foot waves, though. Alright, I'll check Tropical Tidbits to see what we're looking at. I don't see 92B on this graph. I'll get the warning graphic for Lola as well. Yeah, Lola's supposed to also become a major hurricane in the Southwest Pacific. It moves through these islands. I don't know what these islands are called. Port Vila's down here. It moves through these islands. I have to get the names of them. And then it moves towards Vanuatu at the end of the run. But then it should be a lot weaker by then, as the water's still cold down here. Welcome back, Don. So, this is the beginning. It's not tropical cyclone season inside the southern hemisphere yet. All southern hemisphere basins start November 1st. Now this is already here, October 22nd. So, Southwest Pacific's a bit early this year for their tropical cyclone activity compared to normal. We'll look at First, we'll look at Tej. We'll look at the Indian Ocean first. We'll look at what's happening in the Indian Ocean first. Let's get to 6 hours. Let's get to now. So this is Tej. This is that system in the Bay of Bengal. And there's still a lot of monsoonal moisture in the area. Indian monsoon has stopped. There's not much rain over China. It's a decent amount of rain over South China Sea and Philippines. So, Tej weakens down, but still makes a strong landfall in around the border of Oman and Yemen. Sits there and brings heavy rain and disintegrates. We'll check the wind speed on that. And this Bay of Bengal system moves north further into the Bay of Bengal, closer to Bangladesh. It's probably a tropical storm. And then weakens down considerably, brings heavy rain, and disintegrates over the northern Bay of Bengal. And then after that, it doesn't seem to be anything that forms or develops out of there. That's from what I'm looking at. Nothing seems to form out of there. So Tej, I'll look at winds. So I want to try and get a wind measurement if I can. See if I can get a wind sounding. I can't really. Where's the 10 meter wind? I have to look for it. Don't remember where the 10 meter wind on this graph is. Dang it. I wish I could read these graphs better sometimes. I just know that the wind is very strong inside the system. Go back to the graphic at least. Not that graphic. Where's this Tej graphic? Yeah, let's get this one graphic up. Shoot this over here. By the time it's making landfall, it would be... Yeah, by the time it's making landfall, it's like Category 2 still. So the winds will probably be 100 miles per hour on that eastern side as it's coming in. And then it drops rain and weakens down over Yemen, Oman. So that's probably what's happening there. I want to also try and check the waves too. That's possible. Yeah, wave height. Yeah, that's bringing in what? That's bringing in like 30 plus foot waves into that coastline. I wish there was a way to check the storm surge area in that place as well. I wish there was a website for that. So it brings high waves, probably a decent amount of storm surge as well. We'll check the rainfall on that as well. Try and check it. Accumulated. Yeah, so that's dropping... It's dropping like 300 milliliters of rain over coastline of Oman, over coastline of Yemen. It's getting a decent amount of rain in there, so a little bit further inland you're getting like 15 milliliters, but right along that coast you're getting very heavy rain. The gradient's pretty steep between the sea, right along the coast, and then just a little bit inland you're getting basically nothing in terms of rainfall. That Bay of Bengal system does bring a decent amount of rain to like western Myanmar, but most of the rain falls over the ocean. So the Bay of Bengal system, we'll see how it develops, but right now it doesn't seem to be too much of a strength issue, but more of a rain problem depending on how it develops and where that convection sets up in its center. Overall. And then Tej will bring plenty of rainfall to where it makes landfall, but just afterward it would disintegrate since it's a relatively small system. At least on the map wise. Southwest Pacific. Here we go. Okay, this is Lola. The last system we're going to talk about before I transition to COVID stuff. Let's get the precipitation map open. To 6 hours. It's already a decently strong system. Where is it? I think this is initialization. Yeah, this is already a strong tropical storm approaching hurricane status from the time that this was issued. So, jumping over back to the GFS model, you have the storm comes through these islands within the next 30 hours, but you have rain impacts. Oh wait, no. It goes directly through the islands within 30 hours, 36 hours. But the rain's already there, and it's already impacting you guys from now till then. And then even when the storm does pass the islands, it's still impacting you 3 days out. So, Lola doesn't move too far from where it is now, which is this point. And then if I drag, I can't press that. Just get that to hour 66, 672. There we go. So, it moves from there to there in 3 days. That's not a long time. Your thumbnail's finished? Nice. You can show it to me on Discord if you want. But yeah, this time period, this space on where it's moving from here to here isn't that much. So it's going to be impacting these islands here for a prolonged period of time with heavy rain, strong winds, since it will be a strong system. So heavy rain, strong winds, right? And you'll have the water rise is going to be prolonged due to the winds just circulating around and the storm center being right on top of you. And then afterward, that moves towards Vanuatu and gets absorbed into this mid-latitude system down here. And then it's going to make its way down to the Southern Ocean near to Antarctica. So it's going to get involved in the flow down there. Alright, I'll check it after I make the, after I do the after stream. I could check one of the hurricane models for this. I'll check the HAFS A for Lola. We'll check it. See what it's cooking. So, this is the structure, at least on the HAFS A model. You have heavy rain surrounding the storm center. It allows it to get pretty strong. You get like a 968 storm at its peak, approaching these islands. Doesn't move too quickly. Does move to the islands and weakens down. But the storm center is still over top of you. The heavy rain is still also there as well. And then it begins disintegrating as it moves towards Vanuatu. And then it will eventually get absorbed into the flow of the southern latitudes eventually. If I were to check wind speed, which would be 10 meter, here we go. Check the wind speed, at least on the floor level. So, it gains hurricane force winds as it approaches the islands. It's pretty strong there. It's getting white, so you're probably seeing like 100 knots, like on the graph showed. That comes into these islands first, with those strong winds. You still get a large area of tropical storm force winds around it. And then for these islands on the western end, they don't get as strong of winds as these first two islands do. So these first two islands get the strongest winds, and then these ones here get some weaker winds, but they're still pretty strong. Tropical storm force winds, but they don't get the strong hurricane force winds that these two islands receive. I have to know the names of these places, if someone can help me with that. Storm center moves southeastward then, and then you have a southwesterly, it's moving from northeast to southwest. So it's a northeast wind coming along this island that's around 52 to 58 knots, which tell you kilometers per hour. I don't know the exact conversions. I have to figure that one out too. I think this graph should be able to help me. Not 2 kilometers. Okay. Yeah, that's about 107 kilometers an hour of winds coming into this area, that northern part of the island. And then the storm just disintegrates as it moves there. Could also check the parent model to see how warm the sea surface temperatures are. Where it is. Yeah. So where the storm is right now, well, where it was like a few days ago, the water is pretty warm where it is, but as it moves southward into this area, it's not like the actual summer yet. It's not like we're not deep into the season, so this water down here is still cold. So storms can't really develop too quickly. And then that cold water really gets to as it moves through the islands, and that's what causes it to transition once it gets into the past Vanuatu, as the water's too cold for it to sustain itself. So it gets that boost off that warm water, but it's not deep enough, so it begins weakening once it hits the islands. All right, I'll check DMs. I'll just switch to screen display, so I can see what you typed. Oh, can you show? Okay, yeah, I can. Explain effect. Yeah, I can do that. Let me just open the browser. We'll open this in the browser. Yeah, open the browser. There we go. Screen display. Yo. Okay, this is something that Dawn made. I think they said that it took big models to make it. They have to use the murder drone model. I think of. I don't know which one it is. I think it was Uzi specifically. And then there was a technique that you had to do where you had to layer it together. So you got the eyes onto the inkling itself with the glasses. And then that's how you were able to make this. So you needed 3 models. I think you also need the Octo Eye models to get the eyes to work properly. If I remember correctly, I'm not too sure. Yeah, the Uzi model. So, it looks great. You have the dualies in hand. This is kind of like the background. It's like you're in a, say this is like a storage facility. You have your inkling inside the worker vest is probably working in the storage facility. I think this also worked on the, I think this is a worker drone. I'm not sure. The base model, aka the body, is the Octoling. Yeah, the base model is the Octoling. The ears require their own model. And then to get the glasses, you have to do a layering model with the Uzi. Uzi's original model to get the finished product, which is this right here. So it takes a bit of time. I'll probably try and do something like this in the future. Yeah, it's a worker drone. I got it right. But yeah, what do you guys think of it? Does it look good? Do you guys or no? Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but I think for the one that you use specifically, it is. For this one specifically, it is the Uzi model. And I used the V model on Serial Destination A's eyes. The V model? I don't think I've seen the V model before. If you want to send it, you can. I don't think I've seen the V model before. But yeah, the water down here isn't warm enough since it's still... How do I say it? November is there in May, so this is still like mid-spring. So the water down here hasn't warmed up enough to support a tropical cyclone of lowest intensity for very long. Like the warm water up here would be able to. If this was April or... No, not April. If this was like January or I would say probably February or March, this warm water will be... If I can draw it. Come on. I want to draw it. This warm water will probably be down here. And then this... Where the load would be, if this happened a few months later, the water underneath it will be deep and warm enough so it can get a lot stronger than what this is right now. So, the main reason Lola won't get as very strong, won't get like super strong, is because the warm water, it's not enough warm water to support it, mainly. You can also check the upper dynamics, like upper level wind shear. It's still in a favorable wind environment. It's still in it. And I doubt it has much dry air around it either. It starts getting dry air into it. Which up here it doesn't suffer from that problem because it has a shield from the warm water. But because the water underneath it's pretty cold, it can't support itself like it could. So that's it for the tropical update. So I'll exit out of these tabs. And we'll get to this. Yeah, so channel update, basically. Let me just do a quick channel update. I have my sensor bar in my hand. I can make noise of it. I have a sensor bar for the Wii U. I remember I actually had it underneath my underneath the table up front. So, this means that I can actually use the Wii U remote controller I have, and I can play Wii games on here with the nunchucks as well. So I can play all the Wii games that I have here, except for the ones that require me to draw. Another thing is since I'm doing college applications right now, a bit busy on time, so I have to get stuff done. So that's why I haven't really been posting too much or making too many streams, etc. Because I don't have time to do it. Well, I have time, but I don't have too much time to do it. For like Ludi stuff, I'll just make sure that I'm not actually recording the actual sets live. But what I will do is have we play the set. Then after the set's played, I get all the replay codes, record the replay codes, and upload the video there. That way, we never lose the replays from my perspective. So that way, all the history of all the Louis matches is saved, regardless of what happened. So we always know what happened, even if the replay codes don't work anymore. So I'll try to make that the best I can. And then other than that, these updates, this update right here for COVID, I'll try to get more of these out because I have two websites. I'm going to be using this website more often because BioBot, if I remember, they have a contract shift. For Record Live, it would be chaos. Yeah, it would be. But yeah, I'm not going to be using BioBot as much anymore until they start getting regular updates back in November. Because they switched their they don't have the contract to the CDC's like National Wastewater Surveillance System for disease. They don't have that contract anymore. So the amount of locations that they can actually like detect from is significantly lower than where it was before. Like, I mean, some of these still work where they're still tracking stuff. I would say. Some of these still work, but others just don't. Or they got removed. Like, they haven't been reporting in a while. So I'll use this less and less. And still use this for variant data, but I'll get more of that from actual Twitter stuff. People who actually just track stuff. Who track it. So that's where I'll get the variant data from. And most of the data, just for in general disease tracking, we'll use this website for everything. So we can use this for region, for a specific region that we need. That's interesting. Specific region that we need. Just click where we're going. Check locations one by one if you guys want it, and that's how we're going to do it from now on. All right, you posted it in DMs. Let me check. Just switch back to stream again. Discord is very slow. Yeah, like that's the process you would do. Do you want me to show how you did it, or just keep it in DMs? Okay, I can show it. Let me just open up a browser. Close that and open up the other one. My computer is very slow. I'm running a lot of stuff right now. It's actually crazy. Okay. Screen display. Okay. So this is basically the process to how Dawn does it. So they have multiple models of the specific drone that they want. And then from there, they hide parts of the model. They hide parts of the model to where you get the specific parts that you want. The eyes, the tail, this headband, I think, which is from this character. And then you mix them, you put them all together, and that's how you get the look like I showed on the other one where everything's combined together, where the eyes line up and all the gear lines up. So it takes multiple models to do this, but that's how you would get like murder drones like models onto your character. It would just take a lot of time. Yeah, it looks easy, but it takes a lot of time. Usually a lot of art stuff usually takes a bit of time to do. Because you have to hide stuff and make sure stuff's actually working and accurate. But when you do finish it, it is satisfying because you get a cool product. Yeah, it is very hard. You know, I might do this one day if I want to. If I have time, I'll probably do this after I get college applications done. This pen is probably in the way. Okay, so update. Where are we at? These guys lost. These guys lost These guys lost data. So we're gonna be using this. I gotta find somewhere to translate this. Translate the data from this to overall cases. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do that. Probably gonna have to use these guys again. Yeah, these guys on Twitter to get my case numbers. I do have this graph. It's just like a general one. But I need to find like an actual like case bar graph thing. I wish I could do it. Because this is like from 10 days ago. And the same for the eyes and the headlights if I decide to add them. Yeah. Okay, so nationwide, looking at it, basically the majority of viruses that this company, not the company, the organization that does the collection for wastewaterscan.org is Varelli. That's who the CDC gave their new contract to. So, looking nationally, neurovirus, which is a stomach virus that causes vomiting and stuff like that for a few days, is high in the Midwest, the South, is low in the Northeast, and it's at medium levels in the West. This is in terms of national percentiles, I think. You're getting information from Twitter? Yes, sir. Our most trusted source ever, Twitter. Although, if I'm going to be honest, if you are using social media for a long enough time, you'll find people who usually track data more than you do on specific social media websites. Because they usually go through these websites, like BioBot, the CDC stuff, and they have to actually go through the data and extrapolate it and translate it into stuff that actually makes sense for the average person. I have to start doing that more, but I don't know how to read a lot of the scientific graphs that they have. The only thing I can basically say is number go up, more people sick. It's the only thing I can really say at this point. For SARS, which is COVID, I remember in the Midwest, like yesterday when I checked this graph, it was medium levels, but now it's high. And Northeast has been high for like last month and this month. Everywhere else is medium. In the South, they came off their South, their peak was in August, I believe. Same thing in the West. Up here, we're still going through it. I gotta find the variant data. The variant data for this specifically. I could check the charts. For everything else, like the flu for both types, it's low. Monkeypox is low. RSV is low in a lot of areas. But in some places, like in Southwest Florida, around Atlanta, apparently, and scrolling over to Hawaii, which is over here, these northern islands of Hawaii, like Honolulu up here, have higher levels of RSV compared to what should be. Like the high percentile. I have a few cities with higher levels of RSV as well. Yeah, have to read what's going on. So yeah, these are low nationally. If I go by region specifically, in the Northeast, the only thing that's high is COVID. If I go to the South, neurovirus and COVID are higher. Flu is low everywhere, basically. The West, neurovirus and SARS are medium. And in the Midwest, both of these things are high. So we'll start checking by the chart thing over here. This is a good website. You could check basically anything that you need at any time. You could switch through all these. You could choose for a specific pathogen that you want. Like, I can go for the flu, for example, and then choose any location from the start. But you don't have to do that. You can go through here and just go to national and add all the wastewater sites. Well, all the thousands of wastewater sites to your list, and you get a giant thing like this. It's hard to read this graph. And then you can just zoom this out to the beginning period when they started tracking stuff. And you just present day as the end date. If I can click on it. Technical difficulties. I don't think I can actually click on it. This website's very laggy. Yeah, but usually in a given year, the flu is usually highest in. If I were to draw it on here, let me get the pen. Need to increase the pen size. There we go. The flu is usually highest in the winter months, and it's almost gone inside the summer months. The usual reason for this is that the flu, on average, because of its infectivity rating, it has an R of about 1. So usually one person with it gets another person infected. But if you do anything like you stay outside more, or you have good air ventilation, and stuff like that, that usually knocks it down a good peg, usually. Because it's usually, this is more of a virus that needs people to be closer together. Unlike other stuff, like COVID, which doesn't really need that, it just needs air. So, if I switch this graph to, like, for SARS specifically, this stays higher throughout the year. It's highest in winter, still obviously, but even throughout the entire year, it's still at a relatively high baseline. And if I were to put up, like, national levels for the majority of the year, even only in, like, a few tiny areas, like the beginning of summer usually, you'll have, like, most areas are in the mid or, like, lower percentile. But for the majority of the year, almost everything is higher than the upper third percentile for the majority of the year. And then usually in winter you have a big spike in December, and then a drop off in February. Which, if I go to this Twitter account, if I remember correctly, this one, you get it? It's by Mike Holger. I don't want to say his name incorrectly. I have to pronounce stuff correctly. But yeah, this is basically since 2020, based off the Biobot data, which is from this website. Yeah, this website. So compiles all of this year over year. All data from here is combined into this graph. So the lowest it will usually be is right after winter in this time period, the very bad time period. So even at the lowest levels, there used to be a point in, like, 2021 at the lowest where you had about, I think 100,000 would be like here. So just label it like graphs like that. It's like terrible math, but we'll do it. So this would have been at lowest like 75,000 cases a day, I think. You know, like the June of 2021. This was after all the vaccines were distributed. Since 2022, after 2021, it's been up here consistently. It's no longer gone down here to where it was in like 2020 and 21. It's just perpetually up here now. This is the baseline. Redraw that line. The baseline's perpetually up here, where you're hovering around 200 to 50,000 cases a day. 250 to 500k cases a day in the US alone, even in the lowest time period of the year, where there's your least likely chance of catching the virus. So usually after your winter peak, it decreases like that, along with all your other respiratory viruses, and then stays along here up until about July, because antibodies for COVID usually wane pretty quickly around this time period. And then you have your August surge, which has happened in 2023. You have your early peak in September due to people going back to school. Your plateau is usually in October, and then you have your ramp up as you go into winter. Usually, it's usually always also coincides with like a new variant and stuff. New variants usually. If I would track like the variant thing, if we go like a timeline, because you had Delta that was in the United States in fall 2021. That was replaced by Omicron during the winter wave. Here. During the winter wave here. And then in March, it was still low. But then by the time you got to June, which if I go back, this Splatoon stuff. Go back here, 2022. In 2022, June was high, and that was roughly when you had a new variant come along. Get stuff going. So usually you had one new variant that came along, and then you had an increase in cases. You have another variant. It was high for most of 2022. Even in the summer, higher than the original peak. Had a decrease in the fall. Since you had BA2 simply going around, so predominant, and then you had the winter surge. Had the winter surge here, where it followed this line correctly, and that's when you had all these other variants come along afterward. And then from there, 2023 came off of this, and now we're about here. So we're here right now. Still plateauing, but eventually we're gonna have that winter surge. So we gotta see how it goes. But that's usually how it's been, like post 2022. After 2021 happened, it's just gonna be like this since 2022, where you have your winter wave, but even in your low times, COVID-19 is still like prevalent, and it goes up as you go later into the year. That's usually unlike what the flu does. Because usually, like, if I were to go to, choose one location. Let's get rid of all of these and just choose one location for the flu in general. Let's choose, I don't know. Let's choose somewhere in Ohio. Let's choose Ohio. Just like a case study. Usually for flu, whenever you have the flu in the area, you have it highest during the winter, but afterward in the summer, if you notice something, it's almost gone for the entire summer. This is usually when the flu is in the upper hemisphere. It's almost gone, as it usually is. And then it starts going up again as you get in the fall, but it usually doesn't get its real act together until later. So you have it high during the winter, and then it usually always crashed by the time you got in spring, gone in the summer, and then slowly starts increasing in fall, and then you get your peak back in winter. Usually. Check influenza B, that's not on this graph. But if you were to check for something like COVID specifically, for COVID, it has that winter peak. It has that winter high, yes. Go back here. It has the winter high. It has a winter high and has a summer low, but it doesn't go to where it's almost non-existent. It always has a low in the summer where it's in it mid-range or the upper part of the lower range, but then by the time you get towards fall, it's already back in its upper range again to high levels. So even in the summer, which is your safest point, the virus is still more prevalent than what the flu would be. And all these other viruses, since this is not a seasonal disease, it's a year-round thing. For you to look at it. Norovirus is different. Although this has a high spread in the winter, this is due to contaminated food and people vomiting. So it's usually always higher in winter due to more people being together. But it doesn't go away in the summer either. It's still it's a foodborne illness usually. So, sanitation cleans this out well. And air filters also do too, since it can spread from the air that comes off vomit. It can do that. So that's another virus that doesn't really go away in the summer either. So, have this. Basically, for COVID update, you have that going on, so it doesn't disappear in the summer. So that's what leads you to have this caseload where you always have a high amount of cases no matter what time of year it is. Which is still kind of bad. It is still bad because if you consider the fact that if you look at like excess death, it's like Gregory Travis, they made this graph. This thing is for the US only, I'm not sure. Yeah, the US. Usually your death rate, if I were to follow, US death rate always usually follows, you have a dip in the summer and then an increase in the winter. This always follows your respiratory virus season, where usually always during the winter when you have your respiratory viruses surging is when more people die, and then that number goes down in the summer because the respiratory viruses go away. Not counting other things. So, usually, your up-down pattern like this, where you have a peak during the winter, is always usually what you have. Right? For people dying. You have your peak in the winter, it goes down pretty quickly afterward. Goes up again for the next winter. And it continues on that pattern for a long time, usually. If you do get like a bad like flu season like 2018 was, you do get the number where it's a bit higher than where it should be, like up here. These are your bad flu seasons if I highlight them. Those are your bad flu seasons, they highlight up there, usually. So, deaths are higher than the average, and then just after them, they go back to this black line, which is normal. Since COVID's arrival in March, the excess death toll has been higher here for the entire way through, and even in 2022, even after they say Omicron was milder, deaths are still like 5,000 higher, or like a few thousand higher in the middle of the summer than what they would have been even during your bad flu seasons back here. And these later ones are incorporating flu deaths and occurring with COVID deaths. So your excess deaths are still higher now, even if you use like the lower end here, still higher than where they were for all the years prior to what we just had. So if you add that up, you still have more people dying now than you did before 2020, going a decent amount of time back. I think this is a better graph as well. So, you have excess death. This was the flu season. Remember this one, because this is when schools were getting shut down in the Midwest. And this is for people who are younger, 18 to 24 to 30 to 44. So this is adults to middle range adults. Well, no, not middle range adults. That's the wrong term. Middle-aged adults would be better. So, excess death for them has been pretty on like a flat line. I have some bumps here and there, but it's been pretty much on that straight line. And then just after COVID arrived, it's just been higher the entire way by 20% at the lowest. Since then, like it hasn't gone below this line yet. So you still have more people dying now than you did before. COVID is a deadlier virus than the flu is. I think even in a bad flu season, if I remember, in 2017 and 18, you had 52,000 Americans die within that flu season, which was about, I think, 4 to 5 months. But if you add usually there's about 1,500 to 5,000 Americans dying of COVID every month throughout the year. Even in the summer, we'll have round out to around 3,000, 3,000 deaths per month, or a little bit higher than that. You'll still round out with about 10,000 deaths by the end of your summer, and in winter, that's still higher overall. If you do that throughout the entire year, higher than your 52,000. I'm trying to find out the CDC leading cause stuff for 2022. Can try and find that in a bit. I have to block my screen because school stuff. Because I have my school website on my homepage and I don't want that to get shown. Let me just type it. This isn't counting it's not counting people who have long COVID, by the way. Not counting those people. Yeah. Where's the graph here? Where is it actually? They have the full list here. I'm trying to look for it. I can switch back to the screen now. Screen display. Yeah. Leading causes of death in 2022 were these things. Heart disease, cancer, unintentional injury. I think this is probably due to car crashes and stuff like that that's making that increase a lot. In COVID-19. Trying to look down here at the list. Okay, you had 3 million deaths overall. COVID will be fourth here. So even last year, which had a lower death toll than 2021 and 2020 itself, you still had about 250,000 deaths from COVID over the entire year. So it's a decrease from 2021 that's like 500,000 deaths. But that's still higher overall than it would have been in these years prior. Like over your entire year, you're still getting like 40s like bad flu seasons over an entire year. Still, and you still have like still responsible for like 5% of the deaths. So it's not great. So where I think we're going from here, it is go back to the home page if I can. I want to go back to the home page. I don't know if I can though. Yeah, going back to here because I wish I could actually get more stuff. I have to be more prepared for when I stream again. Need to be more prepared next time. But where I think we're going from here, since I know there's a lot of people already coughing at my school, since I notice it every day. Notice it every day. We have to see what new variants do to the puzzle. Because, how would I say it? We have BA 2.86, which is genetically different than the CBB variants going around now. Genetically different from these variants. So, we'll have a new variant coming in by winter time, along with these other diseases that are usually also seasonal as well, coming in at the same time. So we have to add those two things together, and we have to add the fact that COVID does do long-term damage to people for each infection. And by this time, a lot of people have already been reinfected multiple times. So winter's probably going to be pretty rough, if I'm going to be honest. Like, we're at a high floor now in August. If we're to go back to this, like, this table here. Like, we're already at a high floor. If I go back. Already at the high floor, we're following the line pretty well. Like, already at the high floor. It just depends, like, how high will we go during the winters, I think is the bigger issue. Some caveats. But I think we just have to depend on, like, how high will we go during the winter? And how much will the new variants change up things in the winter as well? Those are the main things that we're looking at. Like, how high will that change things? And Flip is coming. That was later on. How high will BA 2.6 change things and new variants in the winter change it? And then, still no, the excess deaths are high. How will that impact where we are by the time we enter winter? That's the main thing I want to say. So I'll just make sure I keep more updates going. I'll use more wastewater. I'll use more of this website. I'll make more weather updates in the future. We'll try to get more stuff out. I will also try to make like a research video around this topic later because I think it's important. It's not usually mentioned too often. It's another thing I'll mention. I could look back at the data here. Just count. Shoot, that's 2 million people. No. It's 2 billion people. Deaths from the flu. Going back. Imagine you flu deaths. I need like an actual like source at the top here. Original mortality statistics. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, we're still seeing like more deaths from COVID than we have from the flu in like 20 years or so. So, all I would just say from now, for the people who are still watching, if you got like, try to take more black tea, green tea. Try to get a good mask if you can, and one that actually fits your face. I will leave links in the description or on like my community tab, even though people don't really too much care. I'll link stuff to that as well. Vaccine data is going to be hard because depending on where you are, it's going to be very different. I haven't taken any vaccines yet. And then from there, it's really just looking at, okay, how many times have you had it? Look at symptoms. I know Sleepy probably has it right now. And then just go from there. So the best I can do is tell you how bad things are right now, where we're going, and also trying to provide things you can do. So best things I could say, you get a good quality mask. I have an N95 respirator, so I haven't gotten sick this entire school year so far. Make sure that you have wipes to clean down what you use, like doors or anything. If you do like need an air purifier, you could use that too. I'll also say try to eat outside more. That's also something good that you could do. That way, the only thing that you really have to worry about when you're eating is just the wind direction. So if the wind's blowing this way, you are sitting here. Let me redraw that. You sit here, not there, so the wind blows away from you, so you don't get anything that blows towards you. So sit like there. And then just in general, just be cautious of other stuff. And if someone is sick, and if someone is sick, you either stay away from them or try to help them. Give them stuff they can do. And if no one wants to be sick, if you are sick yourself, stay home. Or if you're exposed, just stay home as well. Because if you're home, you could do plenty of stuff that you want. You could play games. You could play games. You can do important work that you need to get done. I have to get stuff done, like, just after the stream. And yeah. Just try and take care of yourself. I'm going to be honest. Because you don't know how big the chain goes. Someone else could be sick. You could be sick. But by you not doing anything, it could go from you to someone else. You don't know how long that chain goes. That can indirectly get someone else very sick and cause them to die or get disabled. Like, we don't know how far the chain goes. But if you try to stop the chain, you at least know that you're helping yourself, helping those who are directly next to you and who interact with you often. And you might prevent someone from getting very sick down the line inadvertently, even though you've never seen them before. So yeah, that's basically my update. Talked about the weather. So keep an eye on the cyclones I mentioned. Tammy's is moving north to sea, but we'll have to watch Bermuda. That system in the Southwest Caribbean, we'll watch that as well. Lola moving to the islands of Southwest Pacific. And we talked about COVID. It's high right now in plenty of locations. That's why a lot of people are coughing. If they are saying it's like a flu or something, it's probably not based on how low everything else is right now. Basically, everything else is low except for COVID and norovirus. So if they have symptoms, they probably had those two things. And then you want to look for maybe Paxlovid to help people specifically who have COVID, or get things that that can ease the symptoms for them so they don't feel miserable. And then yourself, just use precautions consistently wherever you go, indoors. Don't spend time indoors if you don't have to. If you can spend time outdoors, that would be great. And yeah, that's just my advice. I hope the update helped people. Not too many people like these types of updates, even though I think it's still important to make them. So, I'll keep trying to make a weekly update for these. Get like 1 out per week. And I hope this helps you guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys, probably not tomorrow. I'll see you guys probably like next weekend with an actual stream about games. I don't have Mario Wonder yet, but I'll try to get it. And yeah, I think I'll end the stream here. I did a lot. I tried to help a lot today. I'll try to give like better links to stuff that people use. So, DP Wellens, the person who made the infectious disease model for these, that helped predict the surge that happened in September. Still going through now. Mike still has his website. Mike on Twitter still has this. If I remember correctly, I could check his page, because I remember him having another graph. He still makes these. Just in case today in the U.S. I remember he had another graph that resembled the new data from wastewater scan and put it to the same level as before. So I'll try to link that as well. And I'll try to make a video about long COVID and how to help people with that. I mean, yeah, just in general, winter looks to be kind of like how last year was. If probably not worse. We'll see how it goes. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope the information helped you out. I want to try and get information for like Europe as well. I gotta find a way to get information for wastewater in Europe. If I could get that, make updates a lot easier. Help people over there as well. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys tomorrow.